using institutional software to trade from level to level. Regardless if you're doing this on NASDAQ, some of our members are doing this on gold, some of our members are doing this in crypto, trading XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another educational CyperX video breakdown. In today's video, we're going to dive into detail, breaking down the software that is accessible to anyone that comes into the private CyperX community via institutional deltas and dark pools. In this portion of today's video breakdown, which is going to be an educational piece, this is going to be oriented for people who actually want to learn about technical analysis from an institutional standpoint. We're going to be taking a look into our private CyperX community and reading some of the documents that we have on the software that we offer for our private community members, what dark pools are, what deltas are. We're going to save that for part 2 of today's video. I'm really breaking this thoroughly down for you guys in detail and taking a look at recent price action across multiple different asset classes. Crypto like XRP, if you all follow us here at CyperX, you know that we do deep, thorough breakdowns and accurate updates on XRP's price action. Today, I want to take a deep look at the delta held patterns that we talk about inside the private CyperX community on NASDAQ today that took place, trading from dark pool to dark pool. I'm going to show you guys that what we give to the private community members today is not hindsight, and it is actually forward-looking data that gives key areas of interest in the form of dark pools and deltas before the moves play out in the market. Regardless if you trade XRP, trade Bitcoin, if you trade NASDAQ futures, Forex, commodities, doesn't matter. Or if you're just an investor in stocks, in crypto as a long-term DCA or dollar cost averager, it is so important to have these tools at your fingertips in this new era of finance. So starting off here, I got to give a shout out to the private CyperX community because it is the end of June. It is the end of Q2, and we had a phenomenal month inside the private CyperX community. Here are just some screenshots. Kevin, one of our mentors in the community, walked away with over a $3,000 P&L and only taking 3 losing trades the entire month of June, which is so phenomenal to see his progress. We had community members like Klon go ahead and pass funded challenges and thank myself and our other mentor, Scalper, in the chat. We had Nick, who's been a community member for over 2 years, add more capital to his arsenal in terms of how much he manages on his prop firm. We had one of our CyperX OGs, who's been a community member since 2021, run his funded accounts up both $10,000 in profit, equating to over $20,000 in a P&L for the month of June. So I said here, one of the biggest myths in the market is that the markets are rigged or a scam. The truth is that most people simply never receive the proper education needed to understand how markets actually move. When you stop chasing hype and you start learning structure, psychology, risk management, and institutional behavior, the market begins to make sense. Our CyperX members are not getting lucky. They're becoming consistently educated. The biggest wins happening inside CyperX are not just measured in dollars. They're measured in the person our members are becoming. Emotional control, patience, discipline, adaptability, resilience, having the ability to be teachable, committed, self-aware. The payouts, the funded accounts, and consistency are just simple byproducts of developing those characteristic traits. CyperX and the community that we've built doesn't just build better traders, it builds better people. And we now have well over 50 funded members inside the private CyperX Discord. So if you're interested in learning how to trade from 2 7-figure mentors and not just this basic technical retail analysis jargon that you see on YouTube and Twitter all the time with Fibonacci's and, trend lines drawn on the charts, you want to look past that and you want to dive into some real sound, good, solid information and real institutional grade software, come tap in with us. Try the private CyperX Discord out for a month via some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you all today. And try it out yourself, right? Try it out yourself, give it a shot, believe in yourself, and further your education. So in regards to the deltas and the dark pools, the most recent update that we gave on XRP, we'll probably do another one in future videos. We have the $0.07943 dark pool holding weight right now, where sellers are passively defending this level. So there's no update from our previous video breakdown that we did. So we're going to skip over that today, and we're going to discuss and talk about NASDAQ. NASDAQ, S&P 500. We had JOLTS job openings hit a 2-year high, and that is one of the reasons that the market was reacting positive today. May job openings came in at 7.59 million, well above market expectations. A stronger labor market lowers recession risk, which we know tends to benefit NASDAQ, S&P 500, and stocks alike. But it also gives the Fed less reason to cut rates, which is why we still see suppression in the digital asset space, because we know that crypto remains heavily on the easy monetary policy or liquidity backdrop, right? Markets are still reading this labor report as a soft landing signal, and that was enough to bring risk appetite in stocks back today. As we know that over $400 billion was added to the US stock market today, right after the market opened at 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Now, what I want to share with you guys today is the move that took place from dark pool to dark pool on NASDAQ today, and how inside the private CyperX community, using all the information and the forward looking data that we give in our community, you all could have caught this position, going through the educational process, of course, digesting the information that's within inside our private CyberX Discord, and learning how these markets actually move, and using our forward guiding software to give you key areas of interest to take trades from, to dollar cost average, so on and so forth, right? So, first, I want to take you guys up here and just show you all that we had this information well in advance, taking you all inside the S&P 500 section and our monthly access member section, where our members get access to our software, and these levels are highlighted in advance before the moves play out. So taking you guys up here to the beginning of the week, and we can see where price action was at. Let's just take a quick peek. Here is a screenshot just to show you guys from yesterday. Here are institutional scalper. You can see the date, Monday, June 29th, 2026 at 4:36 p.m. Sent the screenshot of our NASDAQ dark pool update for the week. And you can see two levels I want you to pay attention to today, the 30.56 and the 35.34. And we know the stock market added billions of dollars today in terms of not only volume, but of course, longs. And now fast forward to today's price action, we can see that NASDAQ had its bullish move today right at the open of New York session. Here's the opening candlestick at New York session from the 35.6. Here you can see that over to the right-hand side, all the way up into the 35.34 dark pool, literally from dark pool to dark pool. And again, I'm here in an attempt to show you all that this is not hindsight. This is forward-looking information. So we come back to our screenshot from yesterday. Remember, our institutional software highlighted these levels Monday, June 29th, 2026 at 4:36 p.m. Here are those levels in advance before the move played out today during New York session. So how could we have analyzed price action today during New York session to scalp this move and to show you all that our members are doing this in real time? Let's head down to our Golden Dawn section. Here are all the screenshots and the trades today shared amongst our members from New York session today alone. We'll scroll up here to the top. Here's from this rising at 7:50 a.m. when I give our pre-market analysis to the community members, and I break down what it is that I'm looking for in the market. And I specifically said, if buyers, mind you, again, this is not hindsight. I'm here showing you all that this is real educational information. And if you're interested in learning this and not paying attention to all the retail jargon that exists out there on the internet, tap in with us. Tuesday, June 30th at 7:50 a.m., 40 minutes before the market opened, I specifically said right here, if buyers can break above the dark pool at the 35.6 and turn it into support, this would open up the door for the next dark pool at the 35.34. Remember that time, 7:50 a.m., when we do the breakdown today in terms of technical analysis, showing you guys the delta held pattern that we talk about in the community. I'm going to show you all how I put this information out to the community members before the move played out. As we progress through the New York session inside the private CyperX chat, you can start seeing buy positions flooding in from our community members. We had Joshua scalp the markets, Codius scalp the markets today, Angel scalp the markets, Milo scalp the markets, making almost $3,000 on the day. D'Angelo, one of our funded members, scalping the markets, Eric, and the list goes on, right? Digitrap, so on and so forth. All right. So what I'm just trying to show you guys is not to toot our own horn. It's to show you all that we're not just some random mentorship that's flashing signals and saying, hey, like, come join our program and you're going to be a successful trader and it's going to be magical and you're going to become successful. No. But if you want real information, You want a real approach to understanding the markets, and you want to actually operate with mentors that are successful in this space and trade with the community of like-minded individuals, regardless if you're a crypto investor, a day trader in futures, forex, commodities, doesn't matter. Come and tap in with us because the community will welcome you with open arms. So now that you all know my personal analysis this rising, which you can see here, was that if buyers can break above the 35.6, turn it into support, that would open up the door for the next dark pool at the 35.34. And our institutional scalper actually just updated everybody and said, what another fantastic day trading from a dark pool to dark pool, right? And so now you can see after the fact, our institutional software was spot on today. Mind you, again, this was before $400 billion was added to the stock market today. All right. So, how could we have anticipated this information using the delta held formation that we go over inside the private CyperX Discord? So here is one of the screenshots that we look for in terms of pattern reaction from these dark pools and these deltas. And make sure that you stick around for the entirety of today's video breakdown, because after the technical analysis, we're going to jump into this document here that we've hand typed out for our community members to understand iceberg orders, dark pools, deltas, so on and so forth. Breaking this down for our members, what the software is that we have inside the private CyperX community and why it's so important to utilize in your trading or as a dollar cost averager. All right. Now, back to the delta held pattern formation. We can see here the buy delta held steps, which is number one, highlighting the last low made. Number two, identifying the break of structure of the high that made the last low. Number three, a retest and an entry using a fib or structures. Now, again, we're looking for this pattern at either a delta or at a dark pool. And keeping in mind that we gave this level, the 35.6, to our private community members before the session opened. Remember, I said at 7:50 a.m. inside the private CyperX Discord this rising, I said at 7:50 a.m., if buyers can break above the 35.6 and turn it into support, this would open up the door for the next dark pool at the 35.34. So let's go back to the New York session. The New York session today opened at 8:30 a.m. Central. I'm on Central time. That would obviously, of course, translate to 9:30 a.m. Eastern. This was the New York candle open. So that means prior to the session open, we had all of this price action over here to the left-hand side to analyze. So why was I telling the private community prior to the session open that if we can hold above the 35.6, that we were likely to come up into the 35.34 next? What was I seeing? So of course, now that this is hindsight, we already know that price made a move from the 35.6 up into the 35.34. But I'm trying to show you all that myself and our scalper our institutional scalper gave this info before the move happened. So what was I seeing? What caused me to say that to our community members this rising? Starting on the hourly time frame. Prior to the New York session, so remember that New York session opening candle is here. What was I seeing? That means we had all this price action to analyze. Number one, price action was trading above a previous dark pool at the 29674 here in this area. It was trading above a previous resistance that turned support. So I'm starting to build confluences as to why buyers could still be in control. We're trading above a triple moving average where the moving averages are acting as a support. And we're creating bullish order flow now, heading into the New York session open, which was here in this area, above another dark pool at the 35.6, where we can see highlighting Asia session lows here, all the way down to the wick low from Asia session. We started to create new bullish order flow, or a sweep of a low, last low made, a new structure formation high above a dark pool made, which if we go back to the delta held formation, this is the beginning of the delta held. Notice how this is also happening at the dark pool, right? So we're seeing a low taken, last low made, new structure high formed, coming into the New York session here in this area. So what are we forming? We're forming a delta held, the 1, the 2. This is where we take our fib from the 1 up into the 2 to then look for a discounted entry. And so prior to the New York session, when I was doing my analysis and I sent that information out to the community members, this is what I was seeing. Taking my fib from Asia session low, to London session highs, and I was looking for price to come into our 62 to 79% discount to then look for buy continuations or the delta held pattern. And you can see now that price extended out to the 100% extension all the way into the next dark pool at the 35.34. But now let's jump down to the lower time frame and take a look at what we're seeing. Now that we know that this was the one, Asia session lows, highlighting those areas of interest and extending them over to the right-hand side, now we can jump down to the lower time frames during the session open and go over what we see. So we're going to jump down now to the 1-minute chart and get into the market open from New York session. So sure enough, keeping in mind that this was the one or the last down move that took out internal liquidity, made a low, and then made a new bullish structure high, breaking all previous bearish structure, putting us in a new bullish range from A to B prior to the market open at 8:30. Now you guys can see how important these dark pools are. So right at the session open, we can see here is the 8:30 a.m. candle. We have a huge bullish push that breaks above all previous resistances and all sell volume prior to the session open at 8:30, breaking all of this price action and creating a whole new structure leg to the upside, breaking all previous sell volume and engulfing that with buy volume. So we know that there's a large market participant or a huge buyer sitting at the dark pool at the 35.6. All right. Sure enough, after we break previous resistance, we then turn that resistance into support and we continue to see the delta held formation now, not only at the dark pool, but now above the dark pool. Where here again, we see internal liquidity swept, just like how we did on the 15-minute time frame, which left behind lows that lead to new structure highs, making new A to B ranges, where then we see another pullback into the base to then see the continuation move higher. And so now, not only did we create a delta held formation, right, at the dark pool, the one, the break of structure leading to the two, the pullback at the beginning of New York session that made the three. But now what are we seeing in between the buy dark pools and the sell dark pools? We're seeing continuation moves, which is exactly what this PDF goes over. And if we go back to the charts, now that we've made a delta held pattern on the higher time frame on the 15-minute, on the 1-minute, we're now making continuation patterns in between the two dark pools, which are the 35.6 and the 35.34. So each of these pullbacks is profit taking by buyers, where then sellers getting trapped unfolds. Then buyers become aggressive and continue to create new bullish structure time and time again. And every single time we pull back, the same exact thing happens. Just like how we saw on the 15-minute time frame, we see lows being swept, new highs being made, which gives us a new A to B range to look for pullback entries where buyers are reaccumulating orders at previous buy bases to take price higher, or the 1, the 2, and the 3 delta held formation. And all of this is, again, I want you to be mindful of happening at and around the dark pools. And this happens all the way until we reach the dark pool at the 35.34. Now, we're not going to get into deltas today, but price did pop up into the overall delta, which if we go over back to our Discord, was shared as well. Here you can see that delta at the 35.97 and the 37.51, which is where the bullish move stalled out today on NASDAQ. And all of this information was given to our private community members well in advance before the move played out, using institutional software to trade from level to level. Regardless if you're doing this on NASDAQ, some of our members are doing this on gold, some of our members are doing this in crypto, trading XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Doesn't matter, you name it. Our members have access to institutional data on any given asset class that they personally trade or invest in. If you want access to this information instead of all this hindsight information operating in the unknown or in an environment of uncertainty on a consistent basis, time and time again, you see all these price predictions on XRP, on Bitcoin, on different digital assets or different trading pairs or in different asset classes, if you want a level of certainty, you want to understand where institutional orders sit in the market before the moves play out, head over to cyperxtrading.com, tap in with us. So that's it for the first portion of today's video breakdown. Now let's roll over into video number two.